What's up, Central Illinois? Derek Hayden here. Garrett and I love sharing all the awesome stories about our Central Illinois business leaders. We want to make sure our Central Illinois businesses are protected so we can continue to share all these great stories. That's why you should consider another great Central Illinois company, Pekin Insurance, for your business insurance needs. That's right, you can get all the commercial insurance coverages that your company needs from an excellent insurance company headquartered right here in Pekin, Illinois. Pekin Insurance offers comprehensive business coverage that lets you focus on what's important to you: employees, profits, and peace of mind. Ask your local Pekin Insurance agent about their commercial insurance products or learn more at pekininsurance.com. You can also contact your favorite podcast hosts, Garrett or myself, Derek, and we'll go beyond the expected for you.
Welcome to the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, where business owners, thought leaders, and community champions from across Central Illinois come to share their story. The Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. Anything less would be uncivilized.
What's up, Central Illinois? I'm Derek Hayden. I'm here with Garrett Ulmer. We are your hosts for the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, powered by Zambu. Zambu is a delicious grapefruit or wildberry vodka-based spirit infused with Brazilian buzz button. It's smooth, tasty, and leaves you with a signature tingle. Learn more at ZambuLiquors.com. Zambu, taste the tingle. All right, ladies and gents of Central Illinois, today's guest is a financial advisor with LPL. He's also a co-owner of Funky Brew, LLC in Gridley, Illinois. Ladies and gents of Central Illinois, please welcome Ben Funk. How are you doing, Ben?
Good, guys. Great to meet you face to face, so to speak, finally. And I'm nervous, and it's good to be on here. I appreciate what you guys are doing a lot. This is very cool.
Well, we appreciate you jumping on with us.
Yes, appreciate you joining us and appreciate the kind words. No need to be nervous because really, Garrett and I don't know what we're doing either. We're just going with the flow too. So,
all right,
for sure, awesome, Ben. Well, what we'll do first is I'm going to kick it to Garrett and take you through the speed round and ask you a few questions to get to know you a little bit better.
You know, I'll just have to say, kind of giving it away, but we're recording this on a Friday. I don't know when it will go out and post live, but I feel like it's Friday afternoon. We should probably have a funky brew while we're doing this. You know,
that's true.
So
I'm probably pulling out of the fridge right now.
I'll give you a cheers with my water, and we'll pretend that that's a funky brew for today. So, all right. Well, we're going to hit up the speed round. We've got 6 questions. We say to answer them under 60 seconds. So if you hit the 60-second mark, I think, what did we say last week, Derek? They win $1 million. So
$1 million.
we'll stick with that. So, All right. First concert that you ever attended?
Boy, that would have been, you know what? It was probably going back to acapella.
Acapella.
You know what? Now I meant, I think, did Seth give this same? I think he gave a similar answer. It was like a Christian group.
He did.
So. I think so.
I think that was at that count. We were little kids. We were probably junior high.
Okay.
Official concert. Now, the first really cool concert I went to was Beck played.
Okay.
I was a Beck fan. I still like some. He played in Normal at the Bone Center.
That's
Nice.
cool. Cool.
Nice.
All right. Favorite movie?
Oh, there's so many. I'll go with Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
All right.
Okay.
Perfect.
Guy Ritchie.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Probably. I'm going to go with vanilla. You can do anything with it. A really good vanilla ice cream. There's nothing better than just a really good plain vanilla ice cream.
Yep, for sure. Are you an iPhone or Android guy?
iPhone, and I fought this for years. In fact, I remember I made everybody hold up. Who's got an iPhone? Everybody held up. It was our March Madness get together, and everybody held. I was like, well, I'll stick with Android then. So I'll be contrarian.
Yeah.
But I gave in. It's iPhone now.
Then once you switch, it's so much easier, right?
It's the email for me. It aggregates all the emails. I don't need an app for that. Was enough. That had me hooked.
Yep. Right there with you.
They're
favorite social media? Say what?
They're both dangerous.
They are.
Time sucks, but
absolutely. Favorite social media platform?
Twitter is probably my guilty pleasure.
Okay. And last but not least, why Central Illinois?
born and raised here. It's where the roots got put down. As a kid, I was going to get far away from small town Gridley and central Illinois and get to the mountains. Now it's where your family's at. It's good people and sincere. And in these small communities, you have, the accountability that I need. So that's why I love it.
Yep. Great answer. I like it.
Well, awesome, Ben. Thanks for sharing those. I think you came in at like 62 seconds. So we're gonna have to pass $1 million to the
All
next.
right. Well, hey, I'll have to make my first million another way, I guess.
There you go. Awesome. Well, Ben, if you could, for our listeners, just give us your background story about where you started, how you got to where you are now, what you're doing now.
Well, without boring everybody and keeping it super long, I've been told I talk too much. But grew up in the area, grew up farming. I started working at UPS right out of high school. My Sunday school, Tim Kaup, I got to give a shout out to Tim Kaup. And I'm like, UPS, I actually overslept from it was Christmas time. It was going to be the first, they haven't, what do you call it, orientation to get on the crew in the morning. I overslept for it. And I called Dan Temez up and I'm like, sorry. He's like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll call you back after the first of the year. I'm like, okay, whatever. Yeah, right. Sure enough, January 4th, 1996, January 3rd, whatever it was, I started on the 4th that next day. And then I was like, I'll just do this through college or whatever. I was there 18 years.
Wow.
In that time frame, I was going to ISU and Heartland and then ISU. I dropped out of ISU when I wasn't doing all that well at that point. And driver spots opened up at UPS, and I'm like, I guess I'm doing this now. And everybody else was going to college then, and I guess accumulating debt. And I was UPS good driver pay. I was like, oh, I guess I'm a lifer now. And then I got married. And then, between her and my mom, it was like, you got to finish up your finance degree. And I'm like, I'm never going to use it now. I did it anyway, online, and then a friend of mine I'd known for years, Kevin Moore, my partner, he's the main advisor in our office. And he's like, why don't you come work for me? And I'm like, no, he actually tried that before I was married. And I was like, no, I'm good. I waited until I was married and had 2 kids to change careers and switch everything up. And so then I did that. And then we've been brewing. So that's been for the last 8 then.
Okay.
7 licensed. And it's no regrets. I mean, it's been great. Things are really moving along now. And then in the meantime, in my free time, the beer thing kept kind of growing. Like, we'd have an Oktoberfest and really does a Chris Kindle Christmas festival, and we'd show up there and these get-togethers it's a great sense of community. You get, it was 50 people, then it was 100 people. I mean, it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and we'd get some, why don't you guys do this? And it's like, well, because it's equipment intensive. It takes some capital, and we have other jobs. This is just for fun. And so put that off. And then this when I grew up in Gridley, it was Pizza Alley. It was the best pizza in the world, as far as I knew. It still is. I mean, if I could just slice of Tom and Kathy's Pizza Alley pizza, actually, I think they have the recipe in Lexington now, but I haven't been there yet. And I would go in there and get my they made little personal paint, kind of like the Pizza Hut stuff. And I eat that. And I'd run upstairs for my Boy Scouts meeting up in the upstairs. And this building has kind of fallen disrepair over the years. And somebody had to be, the village got it for a tax lien. And then they said, why don't you want to come in here? And I'm like, seems like a good idea. And then we did that agreement, and so we put X, we fix up the building, and we get a brew there. And all I want to do is just brew on the first floor. It's the old vintage. It's 1892. It's all brick. The
Right.
foundation is brick, and you got original tin ceiling, 40-foot back. There's an old bank vault in there. I mean, it's really cool. And then Philip, who's our head brewer, our mad genius, and he's like, well, we got to be on the basement. Well, the basement's a dirt floor, and it's just a mess. And I feel like Tom Hanks in The Money Pit. That's what, it's that scenario. And you just, we got a lot of chiefs, and everybody's got an opinion, and
Yeah.
I'm losing a lot of these battles, but I think in the long run, it's going to be good. We're going to have a good building, and they'll have a lot of character and everything. And they're actually in there today doing the basement floor, which is a huge step. So the last year we spent gutting this whole thing. And if I ever see plaster and lath again, I'm going to probably go bonkers. But
I bet.
we just did a lot of that ourselves, because finding somebody to do stuff up until probably the back half of the 22, the back quarter was hard. I mean, everybody's busy. The first concrete guy I called was a friend of mine. He's like, I can get in there in August 23. I called him in like June of 22, so it literally got to the point where I was like, if anybody calls me back, you're hired. I don't even care about estimates. Just if you're going to do the work, then that's awesome. So I
need you to show up.
Just show up. And so Russ Wiegand, God bless the man, is in there today with his crew. And cool. It's like magic. So this thing is just a dirt floor. We dug perimeter tile and set that. He's coming in and grading it, putting in concrete floor. And then really all we got to do is bathrooms, a bar, and we're going to have a tap room for the gather, because we've been doing all this out at my family's farm.
Okay.
And south of town, and inevitably you get, well, we weren't invited, or we didn't know about it, or well, now nobody's got an excuse. The whole so hopefully everybody enjoys it. I mean, we want to make money doing this, obviously, but it's just, I think, hopefully going to be a really good community gathering focal point, and hopefully it's a lot of fun for everybody.
So now, you had mentioned earlier that you're one of 4 guys doing this.
Yeah. So
and
my
now,
dad
and
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Nope. I was just going to ask if the other 3 were local individuals or friends or family that you'd grown up with.
Yep. My dad and I, my dad is 16, just turned 69 a few days ago. And then the other 2 are Philip Romsberger and Andy Zimmerman. I grew up, they're good family friends. Andy was a little bit younger. Philip and Andy were both younger than me a little bit. We just grew up together in Gridley.
Gotcha.
And went to the same church and all that fun stuff. And so when Isaac was born, my wife, my lovely wife, she's redheaded and very fiery. She's like, you're not going to go spend an afternoon brewing with your dad. And so, because it started with me and Dad. I would go home when I was at UPS, and we would inevitably start talking shop. And it's like, after a while, I was like, what is this? All we're doing is kind of complaining about, because Dad still farmed, but he worked for Stoller International, and the Stollers, Lynn and Clark are great people, and I'm huge fans, but it's work. So you always got something. And farmers complain a lot anyway. If you know any farmers, at least my dad does anyway. I'm like, let's find something to do that we're both having fun. And my parents didn't hardly ever have a drop of alcohol in front of me when I was a kid. And then as you get older, you have some beers with your dad and stuff. It's a lot of fun. It's cool. I bought the kit for Dad's Christmas present from Sam Adams. Gin Coke kit. And it sat for an entire year till next Christmas. And I said, we're going to brew this year. And we brewed, and we, the whole thing were bubbled over on the stove. Mom got mad. And so we messed it up. as much as you probably could. And it still came out. It was like, well, it tastes like kind of like Sam Adams Boston Lager. And it was actually good beer. And they're like, oh yeah, we just kept doing that. Then we got another, my dad's friend and my old Tim Kalb, who I worked with at UPS. And I told him like, yeah, can we have this homemade beer we made? And then it was us three for a while. And Tim's kind of since taken a break. But then when my son was born and that was 3 kids, it was no longer man-to-man defense. And she's like, you're done for a while. And I'm like, okay. And then that's when Philip and Andy came in. And so then by the time I got back into it a couple years later, they had everything. I mean, I always had to fight to do something besides an IPA with Tim and Dad. And so it was great having Philip in there because he's like, oh yeah, fruit beer, let's do fruit beer. Nice. Like, yeah, right on. And so we had a pretty good crew. And you know, it's not, I always say everybody would be brewing. And you actually start to see every little town's got a little brewery now. Yep. You know, Lexington's got I can't even think of it now, but they're good guys. Emancipation out by Forest and Fairbury. Chinoa's getting one, I think, and you get all the ones in Bloomington normal. But everybody would do it because it's a lot of fun. You make good product. You really can't mess it up, all that. Yeah. But it's a cleanup. Yeah. You know, clean all this crap up. And excuse my French, but
no, you're good.
That's the big turnoff. And now I may be labeled as a CEO, but I am the low man on the totem pole. I'm doing the cleanup.
Yep.
I've been relegated to cleanup duty.
Yeah,
so
chief sanitizer.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. So we got a good crew. It's great to have, and you know, when this isn't your primary source of income, it's good to have kind of spread that around. So yeah, it's worked
for sure. Well, Derek does a little brewing on the side every so often. And, you know, should you tell him your story about, you know, your brewing experience at all?
I guess I can. So I might have told this one other time on the show. I can't remember.
I think we've talked about it one other time. If I
okay.
Right. Yeah.
So I got into brewing almost exactly like you did, Ben. I bought a Mr. Beer kit for my dad for Christmas one year, and it sat for a few years. And then we got together for Thanksgiving, and I was like, let's get that thing out and let's brew a beer so we can drink it on Christmas. You know, sit for a month or so. Right. Probably need a little more time, but we did it. We got it out, did it on the kitchen stove. I think it made like 12 bigger, you know, probably like 16 ounces of beer per bottle. And it turned out like it was okay. So I kept doing Dad's like, that's too much for me. I don't want to mess around with it. So I was like, well, I'm going to take it home then. And I'm going to keep experimenting. And I got to the point where like I was doing all right. And I started doing like, for those of you out there that have ever brewed, like I started doing all grain brewing. I worked myself up to that. You know, you start with I know what's called the syrup stuff, and then you start to get into the grain.
DMEs and LMEs.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Well, I'd brewed probably 25 or 30 beers, and some of them were pretty good. Mm-hmm. And we had a local brewery here in Assumption, Illinois called 1905 Brewery. And they were having they called it bring out your brew. Basically it was a competition for home brewers. And my wife is like, you got to go. You got to enter a beer into the competition. I'm like, there's going to be people there who know what they're doing. You know, that I don't have a chance. Anyway, she talked me into it, and I took one. I kind of made one especially for that particular competition. And I wanted to make it similar to a Sam Adams, the Sam 76. If you ever had that one,
it's kind of a lighter 76.
It's pretty good. It's a lighter, crispier beer, and it's got a really like golden color too. I was like, I'm going to try that. I'm going to try something like that. So like you do some research online, people come up with a fake recipe for it. And it was kind of a pale ale is what it was. American pale ale. And I tasted it. I tested it like, you know, before I took it to the competition. I'm like, that's pretty good. So I entered it, and I think there was like 30 beers entered into the competition. I had no expectations. We were there. They had a food truck there. We're eating, and they start to announce the winners. And they go, you know, it's third place, second place, and first place from Shelbyville, Derek Hayden. I'm like, what? I was like, no way did I just win this beer competition. And I was like, holy cow. Well, one of the things they gave away for winning was you got to put your beer on tap there. You know, you could go brew on their equipment and, you know, just give them the recipe. They were going to get the grain and, you know, develop the mash bill, you know, do all the calculations I was brewing 5 gallons. They're brewing 75 gallons.
Yeah.
So anyway, I sent them the recipe. We brewed it, and it had been sitting for about in their fermentation tank for like probably a week and a half. Well, I wake up one morning to a text from my mom saying, "Did you see what happened at 1905? Well, the brewery had burned down, and my beer was in the building." So, like, I mean, great people. They have since built back, and it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that to a new brewery owner.
Well, I was like, we would, and the joke, you know, you're going through this whole, it's like, we wouldn't be out much if this thing burned down right now. Maybe that would just be for the best, you know.
Sure.
But oh my, that is an incredible story. Are you kidding me?
Yep. It was. Like,
are they going to rebrew? Are you going to read?
They keep saying they want to have me back. They just got to find time to. They are doing so well. They are like slammed every day they're open. And for them, it's a kind of like you guys, a group of friends who wanted to they're mainly doing it for the community. And the guy that I communicate with most, his name's Tom Dooley. That might be a good person for you to reach out to, Ben. I might have his email address and hook you guys up. But
yeah, definitely.
He's community minded. The main reason was to build something to attract people to their small town. Probably similar to Gridley. Assumption's pretty small. Yeah. Farm community. And it was busy. And then they had the fire, and it was a total loss, and they rebuilt. I think the fire happened in 2019. Does that sound right? It was pre-COVID.
Wow, so this is very recent.
Yeah. Yes. And they got it rebuilt, and then they've been kicking ever since. So
I joke with Derek that I'm like, they can tell you that they're going to have you back, but I think there's a reason they haven't.
Yeah, they're holding off. we kind of like this building.
You're bad luck. Is it? Yeah. Don't let him in here again.
Nope.
No, that's great. So have you had time to refine? Have you changed anything on your recipe at all? Because we've refined some things. We've done 30 different varieties now.
Oh, nice.
And we probably do half of those. It's always the same 4 or 5 to get request. You know, where do you got this? You like, and but yeah, we're always kind of playing around it. Phil's very good with that.
Nice, cool. Nice. Yeah, for me, I've not done a whole lot, and honestly, I've not brewed one in a while. Not every 4th of July, but the most recent one, we had a 4th of July party out at our neighborhood, and we got a bunch of guys in the neighborhood together and brewed one. It was we did an American pale ale. It wasn't my recipe, but we'd like just to, you know, for the America, you know, I think we named it the American mullet or something like that. It was but yeah, it was gone. I brewed again. I do like 5 gallons is what I brew, and it was gone, you know, before the end of the day. So, what would you say? You said you have 4 or 5 that are kind of your top beers that people like. What are your favorites and the fan favorites you've had so far?
Yeah. So my favorites line up with, I would say, what the fan favorites are. And so we do like an American pale ale. We just fruit them.
Nice.
We do one called Tex on the Peach, which are peach ale. And it's got a little hop, but not too much.
Cool.
Because Tim wanted every beer to jump out of his glass and slap him across the face. And that's verbatim. That's what and I'm like, yeah, well, you know what, Tim, not everybody likes to be, I get the IPA craze. And then there's like Triptych makes really, if you've ever had any Triptych, I really like their IPAs.
Yep.
I really enjoy Lil Beaver in town here. He's done a really good job. They've all done a good job. But I particularly like his. So Tex on the Peach, and then we have a strawberry version from that same base malt, which we use Amarillo hops, and
nice.
It's just kind of a plain, but those are probably the two. When we have our gatherings, those are the kegs that get blown first, and then our original recipe, which Phil tweaked, is a wildflower IPA, and use some honey in there, and it's just got it's just a smoother IPA.
Cool.
And then the one that always gets around this time of year is our whiskey stout.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And I'm not a stout guy, but this is really smooth. And you do the oak chips in the fermenter, and or you soak them in whiskey for a while, and then throw those in there, and then the other one, we do a Pilsner that is another one of my favorites. And that, because and not to knock, the Bud Light commercials where you have the snobby, oh, have you tried this? And it's like, how about send them to the dungeon,
Right.
I don't want to sound like a beer snob here, but in there's a lot of just plain Jane beer drinkers, and if they get a hold of an IPA, they're like nasty, and you got to get a Pilsner in there, something that's very light, crisp, and so that's the other probably top 5 right now.
Nice.
Philip just did what he calls the soldier beer, which was allegedly, I didn't do any research on this. I just let him run with it. He got some, Ben Franklin allegedly, this was his recipe, and it's molasses and maybe one other thing, and then like essence of spruce. And it's not drinkable. That will not be.
So it slaps you in the face.
That did slap you in the face, and it was funny because Andy smelled it, and he oh, it's gross, and I'm like, oh, he tends to exaggerate, and then I got a hold of it, and I'm like, oh no, he didn't exaggerate at all. I mean, it literally is like a slap in the face, and I'm like, and my dad and Philip spent like the next 2 weeks trying to convince themselves, oh, this is a good one, and it just isn't. So there's things you do. I love experimenting with it. That's one of the fun things about the beer making process is you're creating something, and it's and then not to knock analytical brewing. That was the one I couldn't think of there in Lexington, and those are good guys. And I talked to Brian, and he was a lot of help, and there's a neat community. But I say there's a neat community with the brewing guys around the area, and hopefully we can add to that and that helpfulness if somebody needs us. They're analytical brewing. We are not we're like the Swedish chef. It's like a little of this, a little of that, and if it turns out good, and it turns out pretty good most of the time. So
I like that. Yeah. So you mentioned the bourbon, was it a stout? You said bourbon stout. The bourbon that you use, is that a local thing, or is that just like a Jack Daniel's that you get at the store?
It's Jim Beam. Yeah.
Okay.
I would like it to be low. So that's the other thing behind this eventually. And then the next couple of years, I would like to be able to say, I grew up farming. We got some farm ground south of town, south of Gridley. And I figured, and I've malted barley, my own. I
cool.
bought some Conlon barley online and had Dad grow it one year, and I malted. I got about, I don't know, enough to do 2 batches, so about 40 pounds of barley.
Nice. Yeah.
My wife was then pregnant with Cecilia, who's our middle child, and you got to roast it to get it to it. So once you malt it, and if you get it through the process without it molding, which was tough enough, you put it in the oven. I thought it smelled good. It's kind of like baking bread. It smells kind of like, to me. Well, she came storming downstairs like, "You're not doing that anymore." and that was the last I malted. But I want to be able to say, I want to take that farm to table mentality, which is really a huge push. I mean, I grew up, there was never much of that growing up.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, and I'm 45, I grew up in the 80s. I think it'd be really cool to say, hey, all those, everything in this glass came 2 miles south of town our barley field and our hops, and then you pitch your own yeast if you are.
Yeah.
So all the books you read say, oh, you can't do all of it. Well, I would like to be able to do some of it on a smaller scale anyway, and see where that goes. So
that would. Do you have an estimated time frame of when you hope to try to get the brewery open then?
As Keith's going to put the joke is now, if it's not this Friday, it'll be next. But I literally have documentation, but if I can maybe show a picture here real quick, if I can, maybe, I don't know. I'm hoping March, everybody, when they hear that, but really we're not doing any more of the work. And now we got guys lined up to, waiting to do things now. And so, it's our turn in line, and hopefully that'll translate to things moving. I mean, Russ came in, I don't know, this week's been a blur, because right after the first of the year, he's like, let's meet on Tuesday to get some things finalized. He's like, I'll be in here on Thursday. I'm like, what? And so, but this was, this is the basement. I don't know if you can.
Oh yeah. Wow.
I mean, it looks like kind of a horror story of but that's all gone, so they got that graded out, and that was before we dug this. We had to put a sump pump in too. Anyway, it's been a labor of love. It's like one day, guys, we're going to look back on this and we're just going to laugh.
Yeah.
Right. Nice.
As they say, enjoy the process, right? It's hard to enjoy it, I guess, sometimes when you're in the middle of it.
Yeah. It's hard to enjoy the process when you're in a 100-year-old basement, digging through clay, and it smells funny. You don't know what you're breathing. It's been like, so.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, before I forget, if you ever look in the future to do like a local, at least a local-esque mix, it's not a bourbon. So our spotlight, or I don't know, we were calling it Keystone sponsor, Zambu. So it's a liquor that was developed by an ISU student.
Yep.
So it's big here in Central Illinois. So Jared McLean's the creator of it, and he's from Shelbyville, went to ISU and developed this liquor. And the concept behind it is he's got a buzz button. It's a flower that when you take a shot of it or drink it, your mouth goes numb and tingles.
Yep.
So he actually partnered with a brewery in St. Louis. Was it last year, Garrett? And
I don't know if it was last year. I think it was 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years
and a half ago? Yeah.
They brewed a beer with Zambu in it, and it didn't have a ton of it, but still made your mouth tingle when you took a drink.
Really?
So if you're looking for something unique like that, we can hook you up with him too.
Yeah. Well, we'll give it a shot.
There you go. So when you started, obviously you started small on the Sam Adams kit. What size are you brewing with now, and what are you going to be brewing with at the brewery?
So we just do, Dad, who's the master tinkerer, and he's our welder. So we need to get probably something lined up for him when he really does retire. But so we do about 20 gallons per day, but it's 10 gallons at a time.
Okay, cool.
He just fashioned a keg system, and it's on a tiered.
Nice.
Deal there. And we bought our 5 barrel, we're going to 5 barrels, which is 165 gallons roughly. And cool. Got that from Pitchfork Brewing in Hudson, Wisconsin, which is
nice.
And,
cool.
He was scaling up, and he's like, that was on, I just joined Illinois Brewers Guild, but they kick everything pretty much to this pro brewer. Anyway, it was a classified ad on there, and I'm like, that whole trip is another whole story I could tell you about. I'll just leave it. My dad stole coffee in Rockford, Illinois, at about 5 a.m. So we've never let him live it down, and probably never will. We'll probably make a beer called Stolen Valor or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's funny.
It's a funny story.
That's great. So come March, I know you're going to open the first week of March, because I know that's
the first Friday in March.
First Friday in March. If not that Friday, then the next Friday.
Yeah, that's right.
If someone wants to come test some of the beer at Funky Brew, Where can they find you?
Well, they can, the best was my RES0B, my famous Hotmail email. Anybody can email me. RES0BUIB@hotmail.com. My LPL address, I don't know how LPL would feel about that. Can I give my cell phone number? You can call me.
Yeah,
Sure,
absolutely.
309-261-2590. And you can have all the funky brew you desire. We need test subjects. We gotta, because when you're giving it out at Oktoberfest and Summerfest, I always say beer tastes really good when it's free.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But no, I think we do some pretty good stuff, and it's always a nice validation for me. And if the other guys watch this, they're going to probably be mad at me, but our fruit beers are the best. And
Nice.
I don't care what Philip loves the Holy Mosaic. That's the best beer. No, it's not, because I know we see what kegs go, and I feel like I have the taste buds of the people more than they do, but that's an internal argument all the time.
Nice. That's great.
But anybody can get a hold of me. We can get you some funky brew anytime, and hopefully by March, first Friday in March. It's not that Friday, it'll be the next, but you can come in and
check it out.
Yeah, it would be
great.
Really
and that's 102 East 3rd Street in
East
Gridley.
3rd Street. Yep. So it'll be
can't miss it.
Can't miss it. It's the only. It's about the last good building in Gridley on Center Street. So don't blink or you might miss it.
Gotcha.
So.
Nice,
cool.
Nice. Well, that's awesome. Well, is there any last bit of advice you want to share for people that might be starting a business here soon, or even a brewery? Any advice that you would want to share?
My advice is to go for it. Even if you fail, I think the entrepreneurial spirit seems, I wished I would have done this 10, 15 years ago.
Sure.
Cool.
I don't think you'll ever, even if you fail, you won't regret it. I think you'll regret not trying it. So whatever hopes and dreams people have out there, I hope they act on them. And in the financial world, there's all these coaching programs, and I'm sure it's the same for you guys. But roughly, I'm gonna ruin this, but don't wait to get it perfect. Just get it something, and
Sure.
that's kind of how this has worked out so far, because nothing is perfect. I mean, it's just one thing after another. You just gotta roll with it and keep going. So
awesome. I like it. I like it. Perfect. Well, for all you listeners out there, make sure you're subscribing to the CIBL podcast on your favorite podcast platform. While you're there, give us a quick review. You can also find us on social media, mainly on LinkedIn and Facebook. You can connect with Garrett and I personally there as well. Until next time, Ben, you've officially been civilized. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. And like I said, you guys are doing a really cool thing here. So I hope you continue on with that.
Well, thank you.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yep. Take care.